Hello, welcome to another episode of Justice Now. I'm your host, Joe Lewis. We're going to be bringing you a show today that was taped some time ago. It was recorded at one of our local men's organizations located in Henrietta called the Fair Parenting Organization. I believe their address is 100 Lehigh Station. They're located in the Motel 8, and they meet the first Monday of every month. And they had a guest speaker there, a gentleman who is a very close friend of mine and one of the better attorneys in Rochester, New York. His name is Nathan Van Loon. He is a law associate at the company of Harris, Chesworth, O'Brien, Johnstone, Welch, and Leon. And he spoke that day giving sort of a forum on how to basically conduct yourself in a family court setting to the gentlemen there and the individuals that were in attendance. It was a very interesting forum, and there was also a question and answer period as well. So with no further ado, let's go there and take a look.
As Tony is off coaching Little League with his boys, so he won't be here. And we may have a few more people join us. We often have people drift in as the event goes on. Well, let me put it this way. Anybody here know what a blivet is?
Ooh.
A blivet. No? Well, I don't know how far along in the military it made it, but my father brought it back from World War II. And a blivet is anytime you're trying to put a 10-pound load in a 5-pound sack. So, by times, and I'm sure you guys do as single parents as well, kind of feel that life is very much like perhaps a 10-pound load you're trying to put into a 5-pound container, huh? You know, whether it's holding 2 jobs, or it's running here to see the kids, or it's playing with attorneys, or whatever it may be to hold it together. So, we may have a bunch of guys out there with blivets on their hands tonight. I think we'll have some more folks stop. Chris has been so good as to arrange for Nathan Van Loon. This gentleman right here has joined us tonight. Nathan is an attorney with your own firm?
Harris Chesworth O'Brien, Johnstone, Welch.
Okay, very good. And their organization specializes in, or Nathan does, practices matrimonial law, family law, criminal law, and real estate, in which sometimes we find they're all very closely related around here, hey? He's a graduate of the State University of Buffalo, and he's been admitted to the bar in New York, U.S. District Court, Western District of New York. And as the format of our meeting usually goes, we'll ask Nathan to speak as long as he'd like, but generally around 20 minutes to 45 minutes, okay, in that range,
sure.
Whatever you're comfortable with, and take questions during or after, again, whatever you're comfortable with. And then about 8 o'clock, we'll change over and have discussion here amongst ourselves and carry on as we will. Just a reminder that we do cover a lot of things in here that may be personal but pertinent to our own cases, our own situations, and we ask that whatever goes on in this room stays in this room. I think that's one of the ways that we find that we can get a fair exchange of ideas in here is by honoring everybody else's privacy here. I would remind everybody, or pass along to Nathan here, that we're committed to the premise that both parents are important in their children's lives, and our organization promotes a number of elements that point us in that direction, whether it be legislation, or whether it be our website, or our newsletter that goes on, or the people that we come in here, the discussions that we have. We certainly all want to stay committed in our children's lives. Without delaying the meeting any longer, Nathan, Loon, if you'd like to join us up here.
Sure.
Good evening, John.
Just your way. Hey, what's going on?
Cool.
All right. Well, as Mr. Austin said, my name is Nathan Van Loon. I'm a partner at Harris Chesworth O'Brien, Johnstone, Welch, and Leon.
and I've been in practice. This is my 10th season, and I've been back in Rochester since 2002. My specialty is family law, like all others. I've got 3 attorneys who work for me directly, and then one that works for me sort of indirectly. And we specialize in family law. And what that means is that we handle cases in both the matrimonial context and the family law context, including anything and everything from child support to persons in need supervision, to juvenile delinquents, to neglect matters, to custody matters, and matrimonial matters. And my friend Joe Lewis had asked if I was interested in coming in and speak to you tonight. I said, of course, because I think some of the things that I and Mr. Lewis have talked about in the past are things that are very important to talk about in the family court system, in the family court context. I think one of the things that my experience has been when I got back to Rochester from Buffalo is I signed up for the Law Guardian program. And the Law Guardian program in Rochester and in this 4th department is a very good program. They try and train you well, and they try and train you to handle all sorts of different fact patterns and fact scenarios, but there's nothing like actually doing it. And you get to meet people from all walks of life and all different types of contexts and situations. And the biggest part of when I first got here, the place where they needed law guardians the most was the domestic violence court. And that's where, in the beginning at any rate, I got most of my action. And it's been an eye-opening experience for me. And it seems to me that there are a number of issues and problems that exist in the system right now that they need to be addressed. I don't know if I've got time to illuminate you on all of them, but I think it's important that we talk about what they are and what people as individuals can do to try and fix some of the problems in the system. I do not believe that the laws as they are inherently unfair. I believe that sometimes the applications of those laws can be unfair. And I believe that people get downhearted because things don't go their way from time to time. And a big part of the problem with that is that people don't see what's truly important here and what the goal of any family court case should be from a parent's perspective and from a law guardian's perspective, and hopefully from attorney's perspective, is to make sure that the children grow up healthy and strong. That's an important point for a child to grow up healthy and strong. What does that mean? It means that they can grow up and be independent people, and they can have some wisdom to themselves and learn and be productive members of society. I think a lot of people miss that point when they come into the family court. They believe it's about winning, about getting one up on the other side. And that goes for men, it goes for women as well, as they believe that their problems are somehow their own problems. No, they're not. They're their children's problems. And having represented anywhere between 800 and 900 children in the course of my career, and having had to interview all of their parents, and sometimes some of their grandparents, and some of their care providers, and I can tell you, that the last place a child wants their parents to be is in family court. Okay. I will tell you what my experiences are, because I want to talk to your group a little bit about what it means to do well in family court and how to do well in family court. Okay. And that was a topic that Joe had talked to me about. We'll also talk to you about the role of the law guardian and how important that is. The first rule of doing well in family court, okay, is to recognize strengths and weaknesses. Strengths in yourself and weaknesses in oneself. And also to recognize that there are strengths in the other side and there are weaknesses in the other side. And if your goal is the complete annihilation of the other person, then unless they have massive drug habit, which is beyond reform, they are fall-down alcoholics with no hope of help, or they have a mental health issue that transcends all issues, you're not going to get that as your answer. So what do you need to do? You need to come within the framework of what's possible and what's in the best interest of the children, which is the guiding standard. So what does that mean? Strengths, weaknesses. Well, I think every parent has strengths and every parent has weaknesses. And one of the things that, unfortunately, when family court brings us to the table, is that there is very little time to try and, in court, to try and measure that. I'm going to assume that every one of you has been in family court and knows that your time there is very limited. There are tons of people there, and if you have a good attorney, you have maybe 5 minutes to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of your case and your spouse or ex-spouse's case, and to push the football forward, so to speak. And that becomes quite challenging, very challenging. So let's talk about what you need to do in order to do very well in family court. One is to set your expectations where they should be, that nobody is going to knock anybody else out. Number 2 is to recognize that you need to accept your own weaknesses, okay, and work on them. That's tough. It calls for introspection. Nobody likes to do that. I don't like to do that. I don't think anybody here does. What is it that people need to work on in family court? Well, everybody believes that they're good parents. But are they? When I interview parents, it's very format questions that I have, and I've developed over time. We go down the list. We talk about the easy stuff first, which is addresses, and names, and birth dates, and how long you've been together with somebody. Then you start talking about the tough stuff like drug use, alcohol use. And then you say something to the people that you're interviewing. And you say something like this. Your ex is going to be here within a day and a half, and she knows everything about you. So what has she got on you? So you come clean now, because I don't like surprises and I don't like liars. Now, if you're honest, you're going to do very well with a law guardian. At least you should. Okay? Because people who have to face it and have to own up to the problems that they've made, the mistakes that they've made, they actually have a chance of getting better. Those who don't get run over, because there are guys like me who will take somebody as hard-headed as that and use it against them, okay? Everybody's got faults. And the thing is that at one point, for all the negative stuff that you always say, or somebody always says about their ex, you picked them, right? Anybody who comes into my office that says, my ex is a complete drug addict and drunk and things like that. So, when did you try and get him help? Were you not going step for step? You telling me that you never got drunk with this person? You telling me you never got high with this person? It strains credulity to say, no, I was sane. No. Okay? One of the things that is important is to recognize the faults that lie within ourselves and to address them. So if there is a drug or alcohol problem, it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed quick. Okay? If there's a mental health issue, heaven forbid there's a mental health issue, because that's a real hard road. But if there is one, then those people need to be in treatment. Okay? I represented a guy who was bipolar, and basically in one of his manic state was doing things that would shock the conscience, and did, of the court. Earned him a stay in jail, and for 2 months. And we got him the help that he needed, and he did the work. And that gives your attorney something to say. This guy is on the road to recovery. He can do things now that he wasn't able to do before. He's on his medication. He's getting back to the point where he can be trusted. Let's move the football forward. So there is an element of hope there, but everybody has to do their part, okay? the best thing that you can do when you talk to your own attorney is you come in with a list. Strengths, weaknesses. What he or she knows about and what I know about them. And what she knows about me. That way there are no surprises. Surprises destroy cases. Okay? And while the litigation is pending, okay, you can't go and develop an alcohol or drug problem. You can't pick up crimes, things like that. Okay? These are basic elemental things. If you're looking at it as a chess game in a certain respect, the way to win most games of chess is to make yourself impenetrable, or as impenetrable as possible, by doing right and living well. Same thing in family court. Remember what we're talking about in family court. There's this thought that there is a bias in the system. The bias is in favor of when children, and they go with mothers. But the reality of the situation, right now both moms and dads are working. Right? Where's the kid during the day? School? Daycare? Relative? Both parties are working. So why aren't things even? Why not? I don't know the answer to that. That is the position that I come to every case. Okay? What tips the scale one way or another? It used to be that fathers would, the default position for them would be every other weekend, 2 dinners during the week. Not anymore. And it's particularly in matrimonial court, what we have now, is we have now a series of judges who basically start at the standard of shared residency and work one way or another in their reasoning. Why is one parent better than another parent? So now that we've made ourselves impenetrable, okay, by not having these problems, drugs and alcohol, or if we have them, getting them addressed so that your attorney can move on through them, what needs to happen next? I'll tell you. You need to be involved. If you want to win a case, okay, it doesn't start when the case starts. It starts a year before the case starts, 2 years. When you're involved in the school, when you go to the doctor's appointments, the dentist appointment. When the other side doesn't expect it and is cut you out. You use your time to find out what's going on. You use the power that you have in the orders for the independent access to medical records and educational records to find out what's going on. In that regard, you're the master of your own fate. Because what happens is guys like me, who are reasonably sharp people, say, okay, well, we don't have drugs, we don't have alcohol, we don't have mental illness. Who takes care of the kids? Who gets them who makes sure the trains run on time? Who goes to the doctors? Who goes to the dentist? Who goes to the PTA meeting? Who's involved in the school? Who knows what's going on with this kid's life? Who knows who this kid's friends are? Who's going to keep this kid off drugs? Who's going to get him involved in scouts? Soccer? Who's going to go to those games? You think that these things just happen automatically? No, it takes the active involvement of the parent. Now, everybody's history is different, obviously. Everybody's history is different. But the thing is, if you want to turn a case around, okay, then you need to get involved. And getting involved is time, okay? It's not necessarily money, okay? It's time. Children, having represented 900 of them, or 800 or 900 of them, okay? As they get older, become independent actors, okay? They do. They do. When they're 14, you do not want to hear about you throwing down some rules on them. They just don't want to hear it. They don't. And they'll tell you so. And then you get frustrated that they don't listen to you, and all that sort of stuff. Well, they don't listen pretty much to anybody. So by the time they're 14, is maybe too late. Which is why you need to get involved when they're younger. Let's talk about another reason why people aren't family court. People aren't family court because they don't get along, not because they do get along. Okay? And your spouse or ex-spouse or ex-love interest or one-night stand, whatever it was, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have, in order to maintain what you want, is you're going to have to be consistent, even though they're horribly inconsistent. This is my time with my child. I am a good father and mother, and this is what we're going to do. You are not taking my time from me. Okay? We do not cut deals on that sort of stuff. Okay? Because this is what's important to me. This is our life. This is your child's life. This is your life. Okay? We'll get to the practicalities of that in a minute. But there are certain things that you cannot let go. Okay? You don't get time back. You can always make more money. You can always get a job. Okay? Whether it's working, pushing carts at Wegmans, which I did to get through college, or doing whatever jobs that are out there. But time you don't get back. And that's one of the sad things here. Okay? Because as the kids get older, they're not going to want to spend time with dear old mom or dear old dad. They're going to want to try their own friendships. And then good luck. Look at them back when they're 27, 28, maybe younger. So you need to work on the stuff early and young and be consistent. And that's how you get things changed. Now, with regards to what you do when you talk to your attorneys, okay? Your attorneys, the best thing that you can do is you interview several of them. That's what you do. Because that attorney and client relationship is vitally important. Okay? Not all attorneys are good. Not all attorneys are great.
Why aren't all attorneys good? You passed the bar.
That's an excellent point.
I mean,
Let's
Yes,
ask,
Bob.
let me answer the question. Okay? Now let me answer it very clearly. Okay? Are all cars good? No, but they all can drive pretty much, right? They can pass the inspection on the road, and they got the rules of the road. But if your attorney, I am technically capable of doing all sorts of things in federal court that I don't do, okay? Because I know that's not what I'm interested in, or I don't have an aptitude for it, okay? Got a license, I can do it. But you don't want a guy who does family court doing asbestos litigation, okay? And what you're gonna wanna have, and that's just in the practice areas. Not all attorneys are good because some of them are just not diligent. Some of them have too many cases. Some of them are afraid of trial, okay? Some of them believe in just trying to settle the cases collaboratively, okay? And if that works for that particular client, in those conditions, fine, okay? But not all attorneys are good. They're not all equal. Everybody knows that. And, if you've got an attorney with 30 years experience and all they do is family court, and they're consistently in court and they're consistently at trial, they get mighty sharp. Just like a knife blade, that kind of sharp, okay? But not everybody's like that. They're not wired for it, okay? That's if somebody asked me to go be an engineer. Yeah, I guess I passed calculus in college, okay? But you wouldn't want me designing a bridge, okay? So it's the same thing with attorneys, same thing with doctors, okay? You don't have a general practitioner handling your brain surgery. Family court is not brain surgery, okay? But what I'm saying is that you're gonna have somebody that you're comfortable with, who's gonna answer your phone calls, who's gonna be able to talk to you and explain to you, not only when you're great, but also when you're a jerk. Not be afraid of saying that you're a jerk, okay? Because sometimes people need to hear that. so that they change their behavior so that they can win their case. And they can have a better life. Sometimes people need that. And I think, just like attorneys, just like everybody else, you've got some people who are afraid to deliver bad news. And try and maybe lull you into accepting bad news. Okay? And instead of just being honest about it. The whole world would do a lot better with just honesty. And that just comes not only just as a lawyer, but just in any kind of relationship that you have, especially circling back to your relationship initially with your spouse or your ex-spouse. Before they become your spouse. Being honest about what their expectations are, who they are, what they want, what they're about, what you're about. Being honest with yourself. So, but picking an attorney, vitally important. Interview a bunch of them, okay? At least 3, maybe 2, so that you're comfortable. Because they're going to be your lifeline going forward. And every attorney has a different style. Maybe that style doesn't fit you or does fit you. But the problem is that you're going to want to know, especially if the other side is being horrendous to you, whether they're going to stand up and fight for you, or they're going to take it. Okay? And you've got to have an idea in your head about what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. The second thing you need to do after you pick your attorney is you've got to have him prepared, him or her prepared. Look, these are the kids' teachers. This is the school that they go to. And I've already talked to these people, and they're expecting a phone call from you. Okay? Just talk to them. Also, you have to have the honesty to have the history and the self-reporting. Okay, so there are no surprises. There are no law and order moments. Okay? That's what you need to have happen. And all too frequently, it just doesn't happen.
How many cases have you handled with regards to false allegations, sexist or child abuse?
Sex abuse or child abuse?
You were.
I'd have to say between 20 and 25 that actually were false. Okay? And, you know, we'll segue into that, or maybe we'll just go right into it now. What you need to do if you're an attorney in a situation like that, and if you're a parent in a situation like that, because things get very serious very quickly. Okay? Somebody's accused you of sexual abuse of your own kid. Okay? What you need to do in a circumstance like that is, after you talk to your attorney, okay, you have to figure out why, if the allegations is false, if the allegations are true, there's nothing you can do. But if the allegation is false, you have to understand where the allegation is coming from. Is it coming from the ex-spouse, or is it coming from the child? And then the question is the reason why. Why is this coming? Why drop the nuke? Okay?
In the middle of a custody battle.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, in the middle of a custody battle.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe a few weeks before trial.
Right.
If it was father, you would have to, if you were an attorney, think to yourself, there's got to be a mental issue here. To be
From the other side, the person
what I'm
who's making the
saying is,
accusation?
if I was an attorney, and this gentleman was in a custody battle, and I was representing him, and all of a sudden this allegation came up, first thing I have to ask myself is this guy got a mental problem? We're in the middle of a custody battle. You sexually abuse your child?
That's not the first thing I would think.
Oh, it's the first thing I think.
Well, the first thing I think is, where's this allegation coming from? And how do I handle it? Okay, how do I put it to bed? First thing you want is you want to know who the allegation was from and who it was made to. If it was made to mom, and then mom reports it, then it's automatically suspect. Automatically suspect. And it should be suspect in the eyes of the court. Okay? The second thing is if it was made to a mandated reporter, such as a psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, school counselor, teacher, something like that, and it was spontaneous, okay, then what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna talk to that teacher or that person who got it firsthand. Because there are a lot of allegations that happen, okay? And what some people have figured out is if they or their child says something to these mandated reporters, they have to get CPS involved. They don't have a choice in the matter. And therefore the ball starts running. And then the way to try and cut it off at the pass, okay, is to get a hold of a caseworker and talk to them, okay? Sit down and try and go for honesty. Now, here's the fun fact, okay? If you did do something wrong, okay? I don't know if you want to have your lawyer trooping you into talking to a bunch of caseworkers, or talking to district attorneys, or talking to cops at all. But I'll tell you what you want to do. If you're clean, okay, then you probably want to talk to a couple of the therapists up at the Bavona Child Advocacy Center on Lake Avenue and try to sort it out before it becomes a chaos problem, okay? And try and put the genie back in the bottle and then turn it back on the other side, okay? Because I've had that happen.
What happens if it's unfounded?
If it's unfounded, then what you do is you turn it back at trial and you cram it down their throat. That's what you do.
You mean, if a state Supreme Court judge were to
Wait a second.
open it up?
Stop. You can't change your fact scenario that quick,
Yeah.
okay? You can, but I just won't be able to answer you. And if you want my answer, I'll give it to you, okay? If you have an unfounded report, that means the allegations didn't rise to a certain level, okay? So if that didn't happen, then what you do is you bring that up every time that you're in front of that Supreme Court judge, that this lady is so Machiavellian that she would try and pin a sex abuse charge on you that would throw you in jail for 20 years. Okay? That's what you do. And then you don't cut deals going forward, because there's no dealing with somebody like that. And that's how I've handled things in the past, and that's how I plan to handle it in the future. Now, if the guy's lying to me, okay, then you're caught, and then you're done. And then you gotta accept defeat and move on to the
Brenner
next case.
Brenner Law Firm with Jim Philippone, they took it, I think it was about 8 months ago. They took it, they brought that issue up, somebody called in. That is absolutely running wild. That's coming out of their lips. I see both sides with regards to what's on the internet. That's what happened to me 20 years ago. I'm remarried. My wife is a nurse, surgical nurse, at Strong. All of the studies, everything that they tell the nurses, because they are required to take it to report such an incident. It's rare that a father would do something like that. I had 8 guys, same story, all lined up. My wife was talking to him. She said, "This is impossible from what they're telling us at Strong." What I'm saying is that these type of issues are rampant. They're rampant in family court. They're rampant in state supreme. And nobody does anything about this. And I want to know why.
The remedy is what? If you have a wrong done to you, what is the remedy? What's the remedy?
It depends on each and
Thank
every
you.
individual.
What's the remedy?
I agree with you.
What's the remedy?
Go after them.
Go after
File a
them.
claim.
File. You can out of the sheriff's department, you talk to the district attorney about the punishments for filing a false report. Okay? You have the ability, believe it or not, you go down to the sheriff's department and ask for a warrant card to be issued. Okay? You file charges against these people for filing a false report against you. Furthermore, you can get civil remedies as well. Okay, for false allegations of slander. Okay, and the case is liable. Okay, I mean those are the remedies, but ultimately the real remedy, okay, is at your custody trial to do well and to take the false allegations, turn them around, and get your kid. Because how can you trust somebody who's that diabolical to co-parent with you? Okay? That's what you need to do. Okay? If it doesn't work out in Supreme Court land, then you need to go up to appellate division. Those are your remedies. You may not like them, okay? But that's what you got. And that is what you need to do. I hope that answers the question.
Can I ask just
Sure.
one specific question along those same lines? In your experience, when those false allegations have been proven to be false, and I happen to know one of the cases where you're a law guardian where that thing happened, how are the judges taking that? I mean, are they seeing that as abuse of the children when, let's say, one parent is coaching the kids regarding very young kids regarding these kinds of false allegations? Is that being recognized by the courts as a type of abuse of the children when you do that?
I believe that it is. In my experience, okay, it has been. But you've got to understand something too. In my experience, I don't let stuff like that just die. Okay? I think a lot of people make mistakes and that they go out in the hall and they just settle it at that point. Okay?
Yep.
I think that's a mistake. Because once you settle something, then it's like, well, it didn't really matter to you.
But does
Okay.
the judge, I mean,
The
if
judge-
they settle it, does he just back off, or does he say, hey, this is serious, that you've done this thing?
I think the judges look at it as serious, but they're not serious enough not to get in the way of the settlement of a case. Because there's a short game and then there's a long game. Short game is what these folks are doing to each other, okay? The long game is, well, our remedy is to establish a peace, okay, through an order of the court, so that this kid gets a chance of normalcy, so that the war is over, so that hopefully the conflict ends, okay? So they're looking not just what's happening immediately, they're looking like 6, 7, 8, 10 years down the line. And what they're hoping for is they're hoping that a remedy that comes up between the parents, a settlement, holds, okay? Now, if they have to have a trial on it, then it becomes a different matter. Then the question is, how much emphasis does the individual attorneys and how much emphasis does a law guardian place upon those sorts of false allegations, okay? Now, that depends on the quality of the attorney and how much you hammer on it, okay? But remember, getting back to the fundamentals here, you want to make sure that your shields are up, that they don't have stuff that can take you off track, okay? Like you got arrested, or like something else happened, okay? Or like, the child was injured for some mysterious reason in your care. You need to keep the focus on them. You need to keep them back on their heels, okay? And you do that by not having problems develop, hopefully. And if they do develop, addressing them quickly and with the appropriate steps, okay? Be it, let's take the kid to counseling, let's talk to the teachers about it, let's go and talk to the principal about it. The job of a father or a mother is to make sure that the trains run on time. The job of them as litigants is to make sure the trains run on time, and then also to protect themselves and their ability to parent these children going forward into the future.
Sir, more of a comment, if you would. You'll have to excuse me, my blood sugar is a little low.
All right.
My name is Paul Waldmiller. I'm from Genesee County. I'm an ordained minister. I'm a credentialed New York State alcohol and substance abuse counselor, also acting in the past as a mandated reporter, as you so referred. I appreciate your forum, sir, and the way that you're presenting your information. It's very clean and precise. You're a very good presenter, and this is in no way to give to present any way that a personal attack upon you. However, I've been listening for about a half an hour, trying to keep quiet, and I can tell you with a great deal of sense of frustration, sir, being a victim of a Filipino migration scam, and also in the past being employed as a forensic specialist, developing and implementing alternative to incarceration programs, such as the one in which you were first employed or part of, domestic violence program. Okay, I helped put those together in Western New York.
Well, with respect, I
Yes.
wasn't employed by the domestic violence.
But you
program.
were in
I was
part
a
of
private
that.
attorney, assigned as a law guardian
Mhm.
in the domestic violence court.
Right.
Sanctioned under Article 8 of the
Oh,
Family Court Act.
Okay,
Okay.
which is great, but you were part of that program. I helped develop that program in which you were working. Okay, and I'm here to tell you that there are forces within the legal community, the federal government, state government, local governments, that give money to agencies such as the domestic violence groups, that pour in money into police groups, to family court, state supreme court, that many times will push politically and monetarily judges to make certain decisions. And what you're saying sounds very matter of fact, but the reality of it is, working in many courts, sir, what you're saying is not necessarily true. As a matter of fact, I'm here to share with you, sir, that much of what you're saying is not true. What I'm saying to you is there are so many prejudices that are built in, whether it's politically, monetarily, and so on and so forth, because of those, especially because of domestic violence groups, that most men have no chance. And as a matter of fact, law guardians, on the most part, are very prejudiced themselves. I find that most law guardians are very unfair. In fact, they hurt the therapeutic community in which I was a great deal a part of, involved with what they're trying to do to help the parents, whether mom and or dad, with the children. They fight if one particular parent wants to utilize a fair therapist, which there are a network of unfair therapists that side with women, and that's all that they do. And I apologize, ma'am, if it's offending to you, but there are a great deal of feminists out there that will utilize specific women therapists, or men, what I call fifth column men, that are out there to attack men purposely for primarily either political or financial gain. That is the reality of it, sir. And I am a victim of that. And that is why I'm here. What do? I have 2 poor children's feeding centers in the Philippines. I'm a missionary. Okay, I got caught up in a very bad scam. Okay, my children are much worse off than I am. I can't get a break. I've spent over $30,000 in legal fees. I tried. Everybody in Genesee County, most people love me. I've done no crime, but yet I'm arrested for failure to pay child support. I'm ordered with maintenance to pay 120% of my pay. And it was done on purpose. And I'm not the only one. You can read them online. There's lots of guys out there. John Maturi, another gentleman. It happens all the time. So what I'm saying to you, sirs, and I hope that you're not taking this as a personal attack, but what I'm trying to give a dose of a reality at this point, because personally, sir, I've been sitting here and listening to a lot of very clean advice, and that's probably the kindest way that I can put it, and I hope that you can appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate
Thank you.
Hired guns.
I don't know, quite frankly, the facts and circumstances surrounding your individual case. I don't pretend to, okay? But I will tell you this.
Okay.
I don't know how you got an order that came out of Genesee County Family Court or Supreme Court that has you paying more than your income. I don't know the facts and circumstances around all of your litigation, okay? But there are safeguards that exist in the system, okay? I don't know if you've exhausted all of your appeals. I don't know if you filed for a change in circumstances based upon your present income. I don't know any of that, okay? But what I do know is that if there's been a consistent period of time where it can be shown, proven, that you can't make the payments with regard to child support or spousal maintenance based upon actual income numbers, okay, then your obligation should be reduced. It should, okay? And whether the family court judge does it or the magistrate does it rather, and they don't do it, and you make your objections, and the judge denies your objections, your next remedy is the appellate division. Okay? I don't know if you've been there or not. All right? But what I will say to you is this. There's a flip side to that coin, which I see all the time too. All right? Where people lie. Okay? They do. And what the role of the lawyer is to try and find out what the truth of the matter is and present that lie as best as it can be exposed. And I'm not saying that every case is perfect, okay? But I know of every story that comes that says one guy is taken in the neck on child support. There's a lady like one of my clients whose husband was a computer consultant, making $250,000 a year, okay? Not paying a dime of income tax, not even filing income tax, okay? Who has got 2 kids in tow, one of them autistic, okay? And the guy still doesn't want to pay. There was a receiver that was ordered, he was ordered to comply with. And this guy is working for big companies, getting his computer consulting contracts, bringing in $18,000 a month, because we have his bank records. He didn't comply with the court orders. Now, every kind of dance that I can do, okay, he's not complying, sees the bank accounts, all that sort of stuff. He moves stuff around. The remedy is for the judge to hold him in contempt, throw him in jail for 6 months, and see if he can go dialing for dollars. Because that autistic kid, guess what? Mom can't have a job when he's off the bus at 3 o'clock. There's nobody to watch him. That's the reality of the situation. So she can work between the hours of 9 and 3. Boy gets off to school, boy comes home from school, and that's it. That's it. Now, is that fair? Is it fair that that court system has allowed that situation to persist for the last 3 years? Absolutely not. It's wrong. Okay? But regardless of the orders that sometimes you get out of court, if there isn't that understanding on the other side, okay, that raising the kids are important and that paying the support is important, then you're going to have to deal with those facts too. I don't know what your facts are. Sounds like you got a raw deal. It does. Okay? And what it sounds like to me is that I don't know if you've gone back to try and prove that you don't make the money.
I have,
Okay? And I don't know how successful or unsuccessful you've been in that.
not very.
Okay? But what I also know is if you have an order that is 120% of your income, sooner or later you won't be the guy who reports his income.
No, because I'll be in jail, that's where I'm looking at right now, 2
Right.
years.
And the taxpayers get to put his room and board.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
But I guess what I want to say to you, sir, is I appreciate that heartfelt story about that autistic child. My son is autistic, and I have 2 other children.
Okay?
And I will tell you this, there are many, many more dads that are not deadbeats than are deadbeats. I appreciate that story, but if it was to persuade me in any way that on the flip side of the coin, that may be so, but it's much rarer than it is dads that don't want to be involved and are not allowed to be. That's part of the prejudice of the system.
The system doesn't really work. I mean, you're not gonna find anybody in here that hasn't had a bad situation. I mean, really bad. Orders that are not honored by judges. I mean, I could tell you time, date, and everything with respect to an opposing attorney saying in open court, in front of a Supreme Court judge, Judge, you have to stop this appeal. If I was a judge, I would have held that attorney in contempt. 3 weeks later, we want to move this thing out. What are you going to do? It doesn't matter. A lot of these guys, a lot of guys I've seen, they've had attorneys upon attorneys upon attorneys. I saw a judge go like this. When you literally impeach the credibility of the opposing side, the judge goes, don't worry about it. the weight of the evidence. You start bringing that stuff up to in the public sees it. Because there are two things that they recognize: divorces and speeding tickets. Most people, they just write the check because they know they did it. Your system isn't working. And the problem is that it's going to eventually be identified truly with the dysfunction of the legislature, which a lot of us have gone down to Albany, we've done all that whole game too, and the governor. And what I'm saying is that this whole thing is going to get wrapped up into a ball. And I don't know what's going to happen in the end, but it's not going to be pretty. Nobody ever thought General Motors would go down crap first. And this judiciary is going to go too. Seriously. There's no faith. I don't have to worry. I got 5 more months. But I've seen this for years. For years I've seen it with tons of guys. I've seen 4 guys commit suicide over this. And the suicide rate about with regards to fathers is very high. You must know that.
See, I have a fundamental difference in opinion than you. And that fundamental difference of opinion
You're an officer of the court.
is that logic and reason will win the day. Okay? That's been my experience. And believe me when I tell you this, that your personal experiences, however bad they may be, okay? And I believe that they were very bad. I do. But the problem is that logic and reason typically holds the day. And typically judges can mostly see through it. And if they can't see through it, then the remedy is to go to the appellate division. That's the remedy. And whether that's a popular remedy or an unpopular remedy, that's the remedy in our system. That's what we have.
Here, Brian Barney here stood right where you were. At the end of the night, which at the beginning of the night, he said that the courts were not biased. At the end of the night, he admitted that the courts were biased. You've had a family court judge recently that was in federal court. And the reason that she went, that case went to federal court was because Lonnie Dolan knew that you could not take the fight at the Supreme Court.
I'm
You
not Brian
understand
Barney.
exactly what I'm talking about.
I understand the facts and circumstances surrounding that judge's case,
Yeah.
okay? But I am telling you, on balance, I believe that the system is fair. I do.
In respect to that, Nathan, 'cause I don't think it's fair to really put you on the spot on this or in this position.
Well, I did volunteer
But-
to come, so.
Yes, you did. And we appreciate that.
Sure.
But do you feel in the years that you've been doing this, you've been doing it for a fair number of years, that you've seen a difference, an improvement in the court's ability
I
to see
have-
through the games that are
I
being
have seen
played?
an improvement since when I started. As I made some comments earlier, I believe that a default standard up in the Supreme Court now is more of the split residency standard. Okay, it's not so much in family court sections yet, but it is in the Supreme, and you have to show real reasons why it should go one father or mother. Okay, and whether that includes factors such as work schedule, like somebody's working crazy hours at night or whatever. There are factors that come in, but I think the things in matrimonial part are certainly getting better. I think in family court it's a slower process. I don't think things have changed a whole lot in family court, and I think that the judges that you have there have been there a long time, and they continuously get reelected, and that's what happens. So you're not going to have different ideas from people who have been there perhaps 10, 20 years, and they have the same sort of judicial view. But the people of our county should know what they're voting for, and they should know what they've got. And as these judges keep getting reelected for whatever reason, I think the people, in a certain respect, you have to accept that the people have entrusted these judges to exercise their judgment. And whether you agree or disagree, you have to, at a certain point, you have to have the facts on the ground presented. You have to defend yourself, and you have to move forward. And you have to, the thing that the judges, I think, in my experience, want to see in family court or matrimonial court is they want to see progress. They want to see progress. They want people to be well, to do better. I don't believe that any of these judges got into the business of judging just because they thought it would be an excellent thing to do. I think that they see it as a real service because, quite frankly, with regard to pay and things like that in the private sector at this point, you can do a lot better.
As you could see, we were not able to show you Nathan's speech in entirety because he did speak for 2 hours, and we were able to bring you at least some of the most important parts of his speech. As you can also see that there is a lot of anger amongst the fathers who have been through the family court system because some of them feel that even though within their best abilities that they have done what they could to be as fair as possible, that the court system did not return that sort of fairness to them. Nathan, in delivering his message, sort of needed to drive home the point, I feel, that when he says that he believes that the court system is fair, I think what Nathan means is that the laws are fair. And when the fathers say that the court system is not fair, what they mean is the application of those laws are not fair. Still, within all, Nathan did give very good information to any individuals out there who may be pursuing a case or involved in a case right now in the family court system. My name is Joe Lewis. I'm your host for Justice Now, coming to you from Public Access Television, the People's Network. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, may God bless you. Till we meet again, goodbye.